You've been, okay, so you and I have been working together for about a year. No,
I think so.
since like last May. So now it's February. And you came to me after you had done the protocol and had protocol diet success, HCG diet success, right? Where you had lost a significant amount of weight. And then you were doing it again, right? And then you would obsess, and then cheat, and then stop and binge and binge and binge, and then, right? You kind of went through that dieting, depriving, pressure on the weight, and then one tiny little deviation created that sense of, I failed, it's stupid, it's done, it's over, kind of threw you into a psychological mess, right?
Correct.
So in the real world, you had regained a bunch of weight and you were going to do the protocol, is that right? And then you realized that you couldn't do it. And that's when you contacted me.
Right.
And then
I've been watching your videos the whole time.
Yeah, and I'm assuming too, when you contacted me, you were probably thinking, and Robin will help me do the protocol correctly so that I can keep the weight off.
Yeah.
Do you hear that now? Isn't it kind of funny?
It is.
Okay, so then we spent a good 3-4 months working on your body image, your perceptions of yourself, kind of going back into when it began, and accepting the excessive weight that you had. And we, went through experiences in your own family and your own social network and presenting yourself and really questioning the beliefs that you had about your body in public, in other people's body, and how you felt about their bodies, and the beliefs that, the body's presentation is a true symbolism of your worth as a human being, right?
Correct.
And so you and I made such humongous progress there, eating to hunger, living freely with food, and even though you were amongst all of your dieting mother and the pressures of wanting to lose weight and people all doing diets and trying to lose weight around you and you not doing it, right? Then we decided, well, then now let's do this protocol again, but not to lose weight, but to test and to see kind of where you're at in terms of relieving, surrendering this new way of eating and experiencing fat loss to see how you react to it. Because I think that's a real benefit of the protocol is it gives you a separated environment. It's not a reality environment. It's a separated experience with restrictive food, right? Restrictive eating, and also experiencing the weight loss again to see how you respond. So we did that first round, and overall, it was hard for you. It wasn't hard like it was before we worked together. It was difficult in that you were kind of getting this, pull to the thinness and wanting to keep your weight, and your family saying, aren't you going to do something to keep it, and giving you positive things. And the test was that when you stopped that round after you had lost a significant amount of size and weight, that you go back to the way we had you eating originally, right? Eating to hunger, no shame, no guilt, eating whatever you wanted based on the palate and the pleasure of food, etc., right? And you did it.
Right.
And you did it even though it was not easy. You were accepting regaining the weight, and that was hard for you. But you did it anyways, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that turned out amazing because you were like, oh my God, I will never eat any different. This is so easy. My body is going to do what it's going to do. Your experience was a different level of awareness after that round and during that round than it even was prior to with the months of work that we did, right?
Right.
So you lived for months, once again, eating to hunger, eating what you wanted after that protocol. And you had lost weight and it maintained. Am I right?
Right.
So the body isolated from all this emotional work. I mean, clearly emotionally you have made major progress, right?
Right. That's
Physically,
probably the most, I mean.
yeah, physically the body is you're no longer manipulating the body. You're no longer using it to put yourself on a pedestal psychologically and emotionally. You know, you're not using it as a form of like identity around how you can how you're proving your worth and how people should love you now that you're thinner and blah blah blah, right? So
Right.
that emotional part is better, but the body was given an in that environment of the protocol was given the opportunity to reset its thyroid and adrenal axis, and it was given the opportunity to kind of make those systems tighten up a little bit so they weren't as overused and overstretched like the dieting did to it. And your thinking, right? So you physically have adjusted and adapted the body. So you and I discussed yet again another round. Clearly you had enough body fat prior to do this.
Right.
So those of you who are listening, not everybody can do multiple rounds because they don't have enough body fat, right? So she came to me, binge eater. Were you bulimic at all? I don't think you were bulimic. I'm pretty sure you weren't. I can't remember or not. I mean, we haven't talked about that stuff in such a long. Yeah, binging, and the bulimia part or the purging part would have been extreme restriction. You kind of became like the HCG protocol bulimic, right? People who don't do anything but the protocol. Anyway, so we decided we're going to go in, and again, this is a little bit different now because the body is going to be more closely matching the most euphoric ideal. What we would have said it was euphoric before, right? So if I were to give someone a weight number to give them an idea of where you were when you and I started, do you remember your weight?
I think it was like 186, maybe.
In the very beginning.
Was it higher than that? I don't remember.
I know, that's the funny part about this is it's like, it doesn't even matter. So it's like, it doesn't matter. So for me to even bring it up is like, it's just, I'm speaking a language of someone who's not recovered. So I'm talking to you guys.
I don't know.
Because it's important to you. She started around, I'm pretty sure it was like 180 to 200-ish. Because we talked about, in the beginning, what weight would you accept? And I said, we got to go over 200. Do you remember that?
I don't. I've never been, even when I was pregnant, and I gained 60 pounds. I was never at 200.
Yeah, but
I think the highest I ever was like 190 something.
Got it. Okay.
Well, I think I was up there.
Yeah, but when you first started working with me and we visualized you being fat permanently, which is how we got here, right? You had to accept that I'm not going to make this adaptable or adjustable. It's fixed. So my whole life has to change around my fatness. And my whole sense of being has to change around the fact that I'm not going to change this, right? So your whole perspective has to take a shift, and that's what happens. So to do this fully, the individual has to accept getting fatter. That way there's lenience and grace in the process, right? So you're giving yourself grace to get bigger. So we probably went up to 200. So anyways, in our minds. So you started, do you know what you weigh today?
No.
Do you have a scale around?
You're not with me. No, I'm at work.
Dang. Would have been such a great thing to get right now. You have no idea. Okay, well, let's just go off of your size then.
Okay.
You're 180 something. What did you weigh after the first round you and I did together?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember the number. I don't know.
It was like 160 something. Okay, so she was 180 something, then she was 160 something, and now
like 68 or something, or 65.
Okay, it doesn't matter. This is awesome. I don't
remember.
That's okay. So we decided we're going to do the scan, and we're going to get you closer to that ideal svelte. And I remember talking to you about it. I want you to imagine being at the pool and, you know, because you have a pool, and wearing that bathing suit, being like, I'm hot. You know, that hot body, that thinner body. The jeans are much smaller. We're now getting into the size of body you had when you were you're, you know, getting thinner, right? Towards that, you know, where you had the most success with your first round of the protocol. Am I right?
Okay. Right.
So we're getting to where the body image is more closely matching the ideal. So the test is far more euphoric. So someone who's, let's just say, 250 pounds, they may get down to 200 pounds. And that's not as big of a euphoric reaction, right? Relative to the ideal that is worshipped. Where things get more testy in terms of the body image, you know, disorder or addiction is what it is when your body starts to more closely match the ideal. Because the belief is that you have something more to lose. Now you have something to lose, or that you're gaining something of worth, right? So we did this round only to get you closer to the ideal to see if you are going to react, right? Because if you have recovered from the mental, you know, we could say survival coping mechanism that we call eating disorders, you won't care. You'll be like, I don't care, because I'm not willing to go back into the suffering, the depression, the anxiety, the low sense of value, the isolation from reality. I'm not willing to go back into obsessive compulsively micromanaging the food that I eat, if I can eat it, how I can eat it, when I can eat it. You're very clearly aware of the mental chaos, anxiety, drama, and suffering to stay thin, and you would rather be fat. You'd rather gain 40 pounds back. You'd rather go back to 185 pounds permanently than to live with the horrible hijacking of the brain that's obsessed about food and body image. Am I right?
It's true. Chaos. You said it. That was what I was in. Chaos.
Oh, it's horrible. It's an obsession.
I'm never going back there, ever.
Yeah. So because of that decision, does it really matter, even if you get svelte, even if you become like, oh my God, everybody's praising you and worshiping you and putting you on a pedestal? Is it worth that pedestal? Meaning, is it worth suffering with diet obsession and paranoia about your weight for that praise?
No, because I never want to go back there. I won't.
That's why. Now I want you to describe what this round feels like.
Well, I was trying to get you to help me put it into words, because I can never, like, forgetting and eating the, what was the girl tail cookie, and it didn't taste like, because I completely forgot I was on the protocol.
And you've been on it 3 weeks now. 3 weeks. So it feels like, I mean, you're still having to work at it. I mean, you still have to prepare your food, and you know, you still have to be conscious, but it's become so easy that you forgot that you were on the protocol.
I did. Yeah, it's just like every day the same thing. It's like I don't really care. I don't care about it. And it's a weird feeling. I don't know. I don't even feel about it, like I said.
Yeah. Are you noticing the body is changing physically with your clothes, with your...
Yeah, I can feel it in my clothes. I don't know if other people can see it because I'm in the same vibe, but I can feel it.
Yeah. So...
It's good, but again, I'm not going to go crazy and be like, get a diet, I can't eat slips. Like, when it's over, I'm never going back there again.
No, and I think...
what I learned from you.
Yes. I think this is a very... And before we started recording this session, I was like, and do you know why? Do you really get a sense of why this is really not shouldn't feel like you're under pressure?
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no pressure.
The first round I did with you.
Yeah.
The first protocol round I did with you in the summer, I was nervous because I was like, what if I screw up? And when
Pressure.
it was like, if I had to cheat, right? It was like, the world doesn't end. You just live on and, oh well, and letting that go. And now I don't. It doesn't matter to me. I don't worry about it. I don't think about it.
There's no pressure.
There's no pressure at all. I'm not like, oh my God, I have to lose weight. I have to keep it off. I have to, it's gone. It doesn't matter.
It's gone. So this is what, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong here, but this is what, with all of the clients that I have that I've worked with personally, that has gone through this process with my guidance. The biggest influence here is that, first of all, you will never diet again. That it's not even an option. Not because you're being withheld from dieting, you reject it. You will never do it again because you don't want to, because you know that it's a lie. It's all a bag of lies and tricks. And it only serves the desperate and the people who are mentally struggling. They're kind of poisoned in the brain, right? It only serves the poison. Right. And it is poison in the brain. No matter what happens physically, you could get down to 120 pounds and fit into your size 102 jeans. You will never do that again. So you're not going to do anything to manage it. Like, the body image is completely severed and has no link to the way you're going to be eating when this is over.
No.
So you have a very clear awareness internally. It's an internal realized choice. You will never diet again. The other part to this is that you spent enough time outside of the protocol, eating freely, eating whatever you want, eating from that table of abundance, right? For months and months of time, that you really got to know it, that you got to know how easy it is, how not compulsive it is. You don't think about it. It's organic and it happens on its own. It's like the body just tells you what to do. Eating from a menu is easy. There's no pressure. There's no nothing, right? You did that long enough that it's very clear in your mind that that's what you're going to do when this round is over.
Right.
So it's separate from whatever happens to the body. So no matter what happens to your body, you're going to go back to that old way of eating. The way of eating that the mind body method ish, whatever you want to call it, intuitive eating. I don't even think it's intuitive. It's like eating based on hunger. It's like intuitive peeing. I'm like intuitively aware I'm going to pee. So I think I'm going to go pee because it's intuitive. No, it's a sense. So it's like a sensory eating. That's what you're going to do. So what happens is it completely detaches the pressure from having to manage your weight, because there's not going to be any management. Your way of eating isn't managed by your weight, size of jeans, or what anybody else thinks about your body. Totally separate entities. So with that said, the protocol, it doesn't matter. What is going to happen, it's going to happen. And the other thing is you're eating that way now. You're eating when you're hungry. You're eating enough. You've just put your choices inside this boundary of the protocol, right?
True, yeah.
So when it's over, you're going to transition. You're going to continue to eat when you're hungry, whenever that happens, and you're going to continue to eat enough, whatever that is, and you're now going to give yourself the choice of added fats, added dairy, added different types of meats and vegetables and fruits. And you're going to continue to eat those crackers throughout the transition. Oh my God.
I know.
Right? And so that the body still has isn't as sensitive to crackers. People who eliminate the crackers, they end up being really sensitive to the crackers. Anyway, so then you're going to go into the real world, and we're going to say, would you like a sandwich? Would you like that? What tastes good? And now you're going to do the same adaptation. It's this internal sensory and guiding system. And That's what you're going to do. It's not negotiable. So whatever happens to the body, you accept it. You've given the body grace and lenience to do whatever it's going to do. Right?
That's true.
So that you're not, what's staying static or what is staying non-negotiable is eating to hunger and eating pleasurable. That isn't negotiable anymore. That's what you're going to do permanently. Right? So then what has to be negotiable is how the body manages itself. And that's what we've done. We've almost flipped this inside out. Before, you had to maintain that weight. 2-pound grace, just as Dr. Simeon said, right?
Right.
That was not negotiable. So your food was chronically having to be managed and micromanaged and obsessed over. And if you didn't do it perfectly, you'd have a real panic attack. Oh my God, what do I do? And then you do apple days or steak days. And then you would end up saying, screw it, I can't handle this because someone had a piece of cake and you just wanted a bite. And then you're like, I just might as well eat it all. And then I'll just do another round because I'll lose it then.
Right.
And you just went down into this vortex of mental chaos. Not just chaos, but obsession trying to control the chaos. Obsession trying to control the chaos.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Mm-hmm. You're not alone.
I don't weigh myself, so I don't know if I've gone 2 pounds over. I won't weigh myself again. It will just feel normal.
It doesn't matter. You don't even need to weigh yourself because you're not going. Remember what I said? You're not going to change the diet. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. You're going to let it gain 2 pounds. You're going to let it gain 5 pounds because you're not willing to suffer ever again. So in lieu of suffering, you'd rather gain weight.
I don't want to suffer in my mind. Yeah. I could take the weight. I can't take the craziness.
Yeah.
I don't want that back ever again. It's like you said, it's like a redo of the HCG.
Yeah, we're rebooting. Rebooting.
Actually, like you put me back to where I was when I was like, before I ever dieted, like back to my normal self.
Yeah.
When I didn't think these crazy thoughts, I'm like, oh, let me try this diet. I can lose 5 pounds. Like that's all gone. I don't care.
Yeah, but now you have the wisdom of knowing that it's not important. Before you still thought it was important. Yeah.
I don't know when it happened. I think it was after my kids.
Well, that was when your beliefs were tested. Remember, we talked about this. You forgot. The problem occurs when you put yourself on a pedestal thinking that because you're thin, you've got something of worth. Because I'm thin, I'm special. Because I'm thin, I don't have to do this. And I'm unique. I'm special. It becomes part of how you identify yourself. That's where the problem occurred. When you started gaining weight after pregnancy is when it was tested. That's why you had those negative emotions.
Yeah. It's when I gained the weight that I freaked out and was like, oh my gosh, I got to get myself back.
Yeah, so that's when it was tested. The problem occurred by putting yourself into a category of specialness because you were thinner.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I like myself right now. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, and when you really put yourself into the process of it, you don't identify by the body anymore. You're more identified by your kindness. It's not even your kindness. It's the kindness of your humanity, It's like saying that my dog is loyal. It's his loyalness. No. That's the dog loyalty. That's part of the energy of that mammal, right? So it's like you get to just be human now and not be defined by the aesthetic part of the body and what people can see, and you're not defined what people interpret or symbolize what they see. That's their symbolism and interpretation. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is a real reality. Unless you believe it, then it becomes real, right?
And I don't believe it.
No, and that is truly where recovery occurs, is by going into those beliefs and changing them and accepting that you're not going to change someone else's. So when someone else thinks that you suck or are better because you're thinner or whatever it is, you don't even affiliate with it because it's not your belief. That's theirs, and they can do that if they want. Right? And
That's
even
true.
if someone gives you praise because of some physical thing, you're not necessarily going to, you can accept the praise and be gracious about it, but you're not necessarily going to make it part of how you feel safe with others.
Right.
That social survival will never again be affiliated with I look good or I look bad or anything in between. It's I have work ethic. I'm not, it's coming from a different source of value. We could even say, like I said, identifying by human nature even can have a downside. So you move beyond that into all is as is good enough and I am type of thinking. But anyways, so congratulations. So how much longer are you going to do on the very low calorie?
I don't know. What do you think? I'm on day 20. Should I go till it runs out or should I stop at 26?
Well, it's clearly not a big deal. So why would you stop? Just keep on going. If you're not having a hard time with it, you're not having physical symptoms that are difficult. It's just like, why stop? So keep on going. And, and we'll see. I mean, as your body continues to lose weight, it might become euphoric, and we'll see. I mean, again, if we can keep you from, you're not going to negotiate the diet part of this. You're not going to negotiate the way you're going to eat afterwards. It shouldn't matter, even if you lose another 20 pounds. And again, get down to size 4, and size 6, and size 2 in those idolized sizes, right? But it still doesn't matter. You'd rather be a size 8, 10, 12 and be free permanently than to have to isolate yourself from life.
Right.
So you can be thin.
It's funny because the last protocol, the first protocol I did with you, I was like, I don't know. What if I do get to that thing? What if I do? Like, I was like, I don't know. And now on this one, I'm like, it won't happen to me. It won't matter. If I get to that super skinny thing, and I won't care. And if I gain it back, I won't care.
Yeah.
I know it. I can feel it.
That's because it's a choice you've made. You've internalized that it's not important to you. It's not as important as your freedom. There's it's very clear to you, the separation.
Right? I know.
That's why when people...
And I know people listen and going, saying, like, I got to call Robin because I have to do it. It's like, fix my brain. I can't explain it. It's just like, the brain was crazy. It wasn't really, I mean, it was the weight was the whole thing that brought me around, but like, I had the crazy thinking, and it was all you getting it out in the open. Like, I didn't even realize I put myself on pedestal until we talked about it, and I'm like, she's right. I thought I was awesome. And then it's all gone now, and thank God.
Can you believe it? Because when you were in it, doesn't it feel impossible to get rid of?
Yes, I was like, I'm insane. People don't know it, and I need help. And I'm like, I'm gonna call that woman who's super smart, and I feel stupid. I'm gonna call her. She's gonna help me do this. And I was like, wow. I didn't think. I was like, please, get me out. And you did. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, but you were willing to go through what I told you to do, which was the opposite of what you really wanted to do. What you wanted to do is be thin, and I basically said, we're going to go the other direction. Because we have to rewire your brain. This is a beliefs problem that has to be turned inside out, and if you're not willing to go through it really, not just, I'm going to pretend, that's a problem. A problem most people listening probably have, is they're trying to pretend to do it, and they're not. The difference is when you and I work together, I'm going into your particular blocks and where you're in denial. So that's what's hard is I was able to say, you're in denial here. There's denial. This thought is a lie. If you continue to believe that, you're not going to do it. And you're not even aware that you have these blocks and that you're in denial. And that's what I'm able to do is from the outside go, that thought right there, you're not going to go anywhere. You have to remove that belief. You have to surrender these ideologies. Like when we talked about your beliefs about how other people should dress. Yeah, I basically punched you in the face and slapped you quite a few times and said, why? And you're like, I don't know. You're right. Oh, my God.
I know.
We had to get rid of that block around the way I present myself defines who I am and my worth, and how everybody, oh, look at them and how they dress, those pieces of shit, right?
Yeah.
That was a block for you. You didn't even know it.
I didn't.
Right? So that's the difference. Is
tell her everything and she'll call me on it and we'll get it out.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the way this works is if you're not willing to be exposed, if you want to hold on to your lie, this work will never work for you. If you are ready to surrender and if you want to know where your issues are and you're willing to accept them and for them to be exposed, this will work. Would you agree?
Yeah. That's probably why I'm free.
Yeah, you had the humility to accept when I exposed some lie you were telling yourself. You had the humility to do it.
Right.
That means that you are sick and tired of suffering and you really, truly want to end the suffering. Truly, from the core of your heart, wanted to end the suffering. So if it meant exposing a lie that you've convinced yourself so that you feel safe, you had to be willing to feel unsafe and surrender the lie and recontextualize who you are without that story, right?
I know, yeah.
All right, I'm going to stop recording. Thanks for letting me share this. Is there anything you want to tell the listener?
No, just keep listening. Go to the old ones and listen. You'll hear all mine over here.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.